Watching, waiting, commiserating. See, I do read the fucking comments even when you're chatting shit. I'm on the whiskey tonight. I've had a shit day. I'm not even going to lie to you. One, I thought no one was talking to me because fucking WhatsApp's been dead. And two, you're not going to fucking see, but my fucking phone's cracked in the bottom corner. So that pissed me off because I've fucking paid £30 for this case so it don't crack. But then I remembered my bank card covers it. So when lockdown's over, they can give me a new phone for sure. So other than that, I'm back in a good mood because I'm drinking whiskey and lemonade. I've got two good guests. They're going to be stars. And there's plenty of you here watching already, commenting. So without further ado, I'll fucking stop telling my sob stories because there's enough of them over the fucking internet. We'll introduce my first guest, Neil. Say hello.
Hello. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you, Jim?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. Good day?
Other than my phone, yeah, I've had a good day. I've been playing that Stranded Deep that I keep on about on every stream, so I won't bore everyone. Although me and Lee, you've been gamed, have found something that'll keep us alive a little bit longer. So that's good. But just introduce yourself, Jim. Tell everyone who you are, what your channel is, etc., etc.
Yeah, sure, no worries. So yeah, my name's James, or my YouTube name, Jimmy Retro. I'm a game collector. Do pickup videos mostly, the occasional gameplay video. But yeah, I kind of release videos. Well, I used to do it once a week on a Monday night. It's just my pickups from the week, from the boot sales. But just recently, because, well, lockdown and not many deals being about, my videos are very sporadic. So hopefully in the next few weeks, I'm going to start doing some different sort of content. But yeah, I've been on YouTube a little while in this sort of realm, game collecting. But I've been on YouTube probably over 10 years. With other
realm, I like that. I like the use of that word. Then the realm, I like that.
Good.
But we'll talk about YouTube history after. You've just surprised me. I didn't realise you've been around YouTube for so long. So that'll be interesting for me personally. And also, you've not fucking drawn it to attention that you've had your barnet cut since you've done your video. People might not recognise you now.
Yeah, I know. I had to talk my missus into doing it because it just got out of control. And yeah, she did it on Saturday or Sunday, I think, and it took her about 2 hours, bless her.
To be honest, this is why I have mine shaved, because at least you can't really mess that up. You just give it the bick and it's done.
Yeah.
But it's good to have you on, Jimmy, and I'm going to introduce my next guest. There was rumours he was no longer with us because the last time we saw him on the Sega sessions, he was greyer than John Spitting Image, but he's back. We'll say hello.
Hello. It's me.
Everyone.
Yeah, I think most of the audience know me. I've obviously been around the scene for 7-8 years or whatever. Yes, I'm Scott, SegaSaturnLad.
Collect Dreamcast.
I collect, to be honest, the name is a bit of a... I mean, you'd think I'm a big Saturn collector. I haven't actually got a huge Saturn collection. I've got probably much like yourself, a bit of everything. You know, I tend to pick any old shit, really, any old shit. But yeah, it's predominantly Sega, really.
Jimmy's going to be a bit gutted, man, because he wanted to quiz you about the Saturn later. But I'm sure your knowledge is better than your collection. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I say a small collection. It's it's only 170 odd games or so. But yeah.
Stu has just pointed something out. I don't know if he's meant to. This is 2 nights in I've had a Jimmy and Scott together.
It is, isn't it?
I didn't even realise that till I just saw it. The trouble is, there's 3 names in the gaming community other than me. There's James, Scott, and Dave, and there's a couple of Lees, but they just share the same channel name of You've Been Gamed.
Yeah, Steves as well. There's a few Steves, ain't there?
Yeah, because you'll start talking about, like you say, there's a few Craigs as well. Like there's only one Dana. That's all that fucking matters, really. That's all that matters. But you'll talk about someone and you go, oh no, not that Scott. Oh, not that James. And we're like,
no,
which one the fuck you on about? But it's great to have you both on. The first thing we usually get on with is talk a little bit about lockdown, get that depression shit out of the way, and then we go on to the front. So, Jimmy, if you want to go first, tell us about how lockdown's changed things for you. And obviously, I know you're working a key worker without being a key worker kind of thing. You got an important job. So if you want to tell people that.
Yeah, sure. So Yeah, I mean, it hasn't changed a huge amount for me because I'm still working, but I work for a company that works with the big pharmaceutical companies around the world, and they, at the moment, are all desperately trying to find one of their existing drugs, which has been through all the medical clearance, clinical trials, etc. Because it costs millions, if not billions, now to get a drug through clinical trials to see whether or not that can sort of cure COVID-19 or alleviate some symptoms.
Is it Dettol?
Yeah,
Is it Dettol they're after?
It's called into Trump.
drinking it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm still working. We're working with them, and yeah, work is just really busy. In fact, whilst a lot of companies are furloughing people, I actually employed someone last week who's starting this Monday, and it's just because we've just got so much to do. But I mentioned in my video, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but I actually think I've had the coronavirus, and I work with a lot of doctors and people that have got PhDs in virology. In fact, my boss has got a PhD in virology, and he thinks he's had it. A guy came into work and I think infected us all. I since infected my partner. She had it a lot worse than me. If it is definitely,
we're talking about COVID here, Jimmy.
Yeah, COVID-19. Yeah. Yeah. Poor Sally infected. Yeah, so I mean, I was quite lucky. I've got quite bad asthma. I was actually a bit worried about it, but I was okay. In fact, Sally, my girlfriend, she got really unwell and was in bed a couple of days from it, just with sort of fever, temperature, really achy limbs. But I was okay actually. So, and I've been in isolation, lockdown. Yeah, just standard same stuff with everyone out. Daily exercise. Nothing really much to change other than working all day, and instead of going out in the evenings and weekends, we're kind of having to stay local, really.
I've skipped that daily exercise one. I've not heard that fucking ruling. The only time I exercise was chasing after football, so I ain't got football to chase after. I'm not fucking doing it. So, but as I've said, like my mum got the all clear. She picked it up while being in hospital. She's been in hospital a total now. My dad told me 9 weeks because my mum's quite ill anyway. And if my mum can get over it, there's fucking hope for everyone because she was ill. And I do think it's all bad of a fucking straight get of it because my mum was really ill. I'll be honest with everyone here. When I heard she got it, I was counting the days, thinking, you know, she's not going to get over this. But hopefully, now she's got over it. Hopefully, at least she can be a little bit weller for a little bit longer, sort of thing.
Yeah, it is really brutal. I mean, it knocked Sally for 6. The guys at work that got it, there were 3 of them. Well, actually, there's 5 people I know about at my work, 2 in my team and 2 on the floor below who I don't really have much to do with. And out of those 5 people at work that got it, 4 are doctors. Not GPs, but doctors in like virology or other types of medicine. So they would know how to sort of, without obviously using the test, they'd be pretty good at diagnosing it.
You still got COVID, have you, Scott, with that cough?
No, but I'll tell you what, though. I obviously haven't been tested for it, but it was very coincidental. So I'm in finance myself, so working in a sort of enclosed office, and there's been a couple of guys that have really had it bad, and I think I must have picked it off of one of them. But what I found was the real thing was the fatigue that it causes. Obviously, it's a very dry cough, but it just makes you so lethargic. You go from hot to cold consistently. Constantly
Sounds
tired.
like my missus, that does.
Well, yeah, but it was. I mean, even when we did the Sega sessions, it was pretty rough. That's why I was so quiet. You know, I didn't really have a hell of a lot to say because I felt not great. So hey, I don't know if I had it or not. It was, like I said, it's very coincidental. But if that was it, then I think I got off quite lightly. But there's obviously there's some terrible cases of it going around, ain't there? Oh, I mean, my missus works in the NHS, so she's having to deal with it on the in the oven, really. Yeah. she isn't medical, but she's obviously seen it and having to deal with it. And one of her colleagues passed away a couple of weeks ago, and they're very acute. They're all very, I would say, obviously paranoid of getting it as well, which is a big thing. But it's just what can you do? Hopefully, the sooner we get it gone, the better, really, ain't it?
What I'd say is, I think fucking everyone in the whole world is scared of coughing at the moment. You cough and it makes you paranoid. I think there's not going to be a single person left who doesn't know someone or knows of someone who's been affected. My missus, where she works at a call centre, I don't want to say what for, but the floor above was full of Chinese people who do programming for this company. And obviously they all then became paranoid because some of them was going and coming back from China, sort of thing. And it made everyone a little bit paranoid about it. And they're obviously all home now. But someone who works with her, an elderly gentleman, got it. He's passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah,
they're doing a live stream of his funeral that she's going to be watching and stuff like that. But as I say, I don't think come the end of it, there won't be anyone who doesn't know of someone or has been affected by it firsthand themselves, which is bad news, really. Maybe I think sometimes out of a bad situation, there will be come out of it in sort of thing. If we're a little bit more careful as a season, maybe a little bit more caring all times on this street. I've been up and down to go to my dad's because my dad lives in the next street while Mum's in hospital. I'm picking up stuff for him, and I walk past neighbours. The house my mum and dad live in, I lived in that house. I was in that house. I see neighbours I never spoke to in like 35 years who say hello and good morning now. It's almost like because we're in a little bit of uncertain times, everyone's being a little nicer to it. Well, most of the people are being a little bit nicer to each other, which if that carries on, it's only going to be good for the species of the human race thing. The ones who are ourselves, they can all fucking get COVID for me, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think I think to where it come from as well, these Chinese meat markets or whatever the fuck they eat over there, it's just, and I'll tell you what, I do not believe their figures. How can the biggest population on the planet have only 4,000 deaths? I reckon that there's been hundreds of thousands that have died over there, and it's all been same with Russia as well. They reckon only 700 have died in Russia.
You're lagging back. You're back on Virgin, still connected to your phone. No, I'm back hard connected in, but I can wire in if I need to. Am I lagging for everyone else, or is it just Stu?
You're a little bit.
No, I'm hearing you fine.
Okay, we'll soldier on. If anyone else moans about it, I can always hardwire in. It means I'll just have to pop in and out. But as you say, I think they've made stricter rules, but every country's lying about it, even our own, where we're not, registering the deaths in the care homes and stuff like that. It's almost like wartime propaganda still, isn't it? And
it really is.
That's just how what's it called? That's just how governments work, I think, to be honest. But we'll move on from COVID because I don't like to spend too on it, and we'll talk a little bit. My voice is breaking a little. It's not bad enough to worry about. Stu, stop fucking moaning. To UK. This is the guy who didn't have a mic till I sent him me shit anyway. The first thing I like to talk about is I like to talk about gaming industry. So Jimmy, just tell us your first experience of gaming. Your journey up, and don't talk about your collecting. We'll get into the collecting as a separate question, sort of thing.
Sure. So I think it all started when I was probably 4 or 5. I think I got given an Atari 2600, one of the wooden models, and with a whole stack of games. I think it was my uncle's, probably a bit too young to remember. And I've actually still got all the games for the console. A lot of them are on the shelf behind me here, but it broke, and then eventually I got a Atari 2600 Junior. Actually, this one right here, my one as a kid. And then from that, I kind of moved on to the Master System, then the Mega Drive, the Mega Drive was my uncle's, and he gave it to us kind of on permanent loan, and it was at our house for about 6 years until we gave it him back. And during that period, I was lucky enough to have an Amiga 500, which I played to death. And then there were some other systems as well around the time, and I also remember we had a PC as well, and I used to play a lot of text adventures. And one of my favorite game genres are sort of adventure point-and-click games. So I grew up playing sort of King's Quest, Hugo House of Horrors, Police Quest, Space Quest, those sort of games. And then I'd say after the Amiga, I'd say the PS1, but I didn't get the PS1 until quite late, actually. And I was probably more into PC gaming at the time. And then from the PS1, I didn't have an N64. Mates had them. Didn't have a Saturn. I moved to after the PS1. I had PS2, and then I was sort of then at the age where I kind of stopped gaming. Really, I still had sort of quite often the latest console at that point. So I got a PS2 on launch, or no, actually, it wasn't on launch. It was just after launch. And then I got a 360 quite a few years later. And then I was a massive 360 fan. In fact, it is actually one of my favorite systems. But my brother-in-law and a couple of my mates were just nagging me, saying, look, you've got to get a PS3 so we can play COD together. So I gave in to the pressure, bought a PS3, and then moved on to PS4 eventually. And yeah, literally about a year ago, I bought an Xbox One, but I very rarely play it. So I've kind of gone through each of the generations. Some areas I'm more fond of than others. So, for example, the Amiga and the Mega Drive, that was kind of my era, really. I'm 35, I think. Yeah, 35. So
I hope you know your age.
You know what?
You lose track of 30, though, didn't you?
Yeah, you do. So yeah, I mean, early 90s to the mid 90s when I was just massively into gaming, and I just adored my Amiga, and I was probably playing it a long time after kind of Commodore went bust, but because I was still a kid, I didn't really understand the whole Commodore thing, and a lot of the good games, actually, in my opinion, came quite late on in the Amiga's life, because the Amiga came out in '87. I was obviously way too young at that point. But yeah, I was just quite lucky. And the thing is, when I was young, although I had quite a lot of decent systems, I never owned them. They were always just like given to me on loan, or they were hand-me-downs. So the Mega Drive I didn't really probably get until like 91, 92. So it'd been out a good couple of years, I think, by that point. And then, yeah, the Master System again was quite late on. So yeah, and all the games that I got, it just used to take ages to save up for them. And when I'd buy them, like, I just play a single game to death. And I'd only ever have sort of 4 or 5 games per system that I owned. The Amiga was a bit different because we were all just copying games with Xcopy. So yeah, I'd stack
backing them up for each other in case theirs broke. Is that what you was doing?
Exactly right. But I did actually buy a few Amiga games, and the ones I own are actually on the shelf behind me. And those again are the ones that I bought in the early 90s. And when I look at them, they're actually pretty crap. And I was probably only bought them because I liked the box art, or I'd played a demo and was like, oh, this is pretty cool. So yeah,
everyone bought games because of box art.
Yeah, true. True. And the thing is, as well, I discovered a lot of systems like a lot later on. So, for example, the Commodore 64, I got like many years after it had come out, and I was playing the Amiga when I was playing a Commodore 64 as well. So, and because I didn't understand the whole like 8-bit, 16-bit, obviously you could tell the difference with sort of graphics and sound. For me, it was all about gameplay, and it still is, and that's why I think I enjoy a lot of retro games over more modern games. And it's very rare that I find a modern game that I actually enjoy, and I just tend to go back to the older stuff, really. And I get hooked on a game and want to complete.
I'm glad you said that you don't really take any notice of the sound or the music, because I'll put you down as one of the most polite and well-spoken YouTubers that there are about. But if I said that, they'd think fucking Neanderthal Dane doesn't fucking listen to the music of the game. Which I don't give a fuck how it sounds. It's how it plays for me, and how it looks as well. Sometimes, I can't say I've got. When people say, "Oh, I love the soundtrack to that game," I'm like, it's got fucking sound and music. I'm just fucking aiming and shooting. That's all I'm doing.
But I like going on. There's I can't remember the name of the website, but there's a site with all the music soundtracks. And I love going back and listening to some of the tunes from the Amiga games I used to play. Like, I used to switch my Amiga on with Captain Planet, and I just listened to the theme tune for like 20 minutes because I just used to love the music. And it's the same with one of my favorite Amiga games. It's called Loops, sort of a puzzle game, and it's got some of the best music ever. I think it's David Whittaker did the music for it. And yeah, just some incredible tunes that they got out of these systems. And I think, like, those songs are just stuck in my head. Like, I can play a game now or stick it on the emulator and play it, and I can just remember where I was when I played it and where the computer was set up, who was in the room. It just brings back so many memories. And I think a lot of that is from the music of those games, because the music was a big part of it, because we didn't have the graphics to rely on like we do now.
You reading the comments there, aren't you, Scott?
Yeah, I agree. Captain Planet it is a crap game. I couldn't really get very far either. I've watched some YouTube videos of people like completing it, and I couldn't get past the second level, I don't think. But yeah, it had good music.
I do want to do a little shout out before we move on to Scott, because I don't know if Darren McGowan's in the comments. He is sometimes, but I know he watches this back, and it's his birthday today. I only know that because of Facebook. I don't stalk you, Darren. Say happy birthday anyway. He's more of a looker than a producer on the older YouTube, is Darren, but you'll have seen him in the comments.
One of the lurkers.
One of the lurkers, yeah. Also, I want to shout out to Tim, Mr. Bad Fuck Up UK. He's I think he's got the virus at the moment. He's not too well. I spoke to him personally. So if Tim's watching this back or listening, I hope you're a speedy recovery, my man. And I hope you're listening to your Brian Adams tapes while you're recovering. So I didn't know you were so much into the Amiga. You will have gained a lot of love here, Jim, because I know there's some big Amiga fans down here in the comments. So we'll talk a little bit more about the Amiga, and we'll talk a little bit about your games collection after. So Scott, let's have your story, beginning to not your collection story, just your gaming history.
Right. Okay. So I think I must have been about 6 or 7, average age for probably most people. And I got thrusted upon us a couple of old school computers. First one was I think it was called an Atari 400, and it was like, I think it was like a computerized 2600 or 7800, something like that. It had a cartridge slot, and it had a keyboard on it, but the keyboard didn't have buttons. It had like a flat panel, kind of like membrane things, and you'd press down on it. It was a weird looking thing.
Hang on, did the cartridges look anything like that? Because there was this is called the Philips Video Pack, but it was known as the Odyssey in America, and they had a flat like membrane thing with 2 joysticks attached. And these were the cartridges and the games for that. That's all I'm thinking, is it might be that.
Yeah, it was definitely an Atari. Definitely an Atari. I remember that. That, I mean, it couldn't have been 6 years old. It was secondhand, and hooking it up, couldn't ever work it out. And then for some reason, my mum ended up sourcing a Commodore VIC-20, which at the time was already quite old. Somehow I managed to get that up and running with tape deck, and that was like the one before the 64, wasn't it? I'm not really massive into
the computers, but like the one before the
C64 one. Yeah. So it's like this beige thing with brown keys, and you had the tape deck, and you put it in, and but yeah, it had that we had that in the conservatory, and then one evening the conservatory flooded, and it all got soaked. So the next day my mum went out. There you go, Dylan.
Dylan knows everything.
Yeah.
Except for how to open a fucking sealed game.
That's true. Yeah, but he's a limited run fanboy, isn't he?
Yeah. And cable pusher. He loves his cables. The cable guy.
So I think a couple of weeks after all that happened, my mum went out and bought us a Master System. And,
a what?
Master System.
A what? A what?
A Master System. Master System.
You mean a Master System?
Master System, mate. Master System.
There's only one R in it, and that's at the end.
yeah. Well,
If
we
you
speak the
think
Queen's English.
SegaSaturnLad is saying Master System wrong, put a 1 in the comments.
Well, we speak the Queen's English down here, don't we? So it's the proper English. You ain't gonna argue with the Queen. So I bought a Master System and had that for quite a few years. Actually went through Sega console after console after console, all the way up to the Dreamcast after that. So I didn't have anything else. My brothers had like the odd Nintendo here and there. We had a SNES and a NES, but me personally had Master System for 4 years, moved on to Mega Drive probably about 91, 92. Again, had that up until about 96. Bought a Saturn. Even when I remember we bought a Saturn because my birthday is the day after Princess Diana died, and I remember playing Tomb Raider on the Saturn and turning it off at 4 o'clock, and there'd been this massive crash and it was all on TV and everything. So that was 97. So that's when I know I bought the Saturn.
What are we talking about? I've got a fucking story about Diana's death. Fucking, she got me in some right trouble. Get up before parents to watch the cartoons, right? And if you remember that day, all that was on the fucking telly that morning was breaking news. Princess Diana's been in a car crash and died. So my mum liked Princess Diana, right? So I woke her up and said, Mum, Princess Diana's died. She goes, you're fucking grounded, you're lying. I was like, what the fuck? So Princess Diana got me in trouble until Mum turned on the fucking telly. And I said, Mum, why the fuck would I wake you up and say Princess Diana's died if she hadn't fucking died? Yeah. No. Fucking my mum said I was making it up. I was like, Mum, there's fucking loads of other better stuff that I've made up past. I've not made up the Princess Diana's died.
So bear in mind, I would have been 15, 16. At that age, everyone has free attitude, got an attitude, chip on their shoulder. My mum come into my bedroom. I was already fucked from the night before. And she was like, Scott, wake up, wake up. I was like, what, Mum? Diana has died. Mum, I really don't care. I went back to bed. And it was like...
She weren't even still a raw boy then, really, was she?
No, she was just, what the fuck, all right. What do you want me to do about it? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? But, so had the Saturn up until, like I said, I've still got my original Saturn anyway. And just kept that. And it got to a point where, it must have been about 98, where... the releases were getting really few and far between, and had to kind of cave in. And eventually, I did buy a PlayStation, and I only had that for a year. But again, really thoroughly enjoyed my time with the PS1. But as soon as the Dreamcast came out, I traded that in and soldiered on with the Dreamcast for the limited time that it was going. Really, funnily, because it was weird because me and Scott Brand, Sega Zombie, we actually worked at Game. During the launch of the Dreamcast. He worked in the Ipswich branch and I worked down in Lakeside in Essex. And we kind of mirrored ourselves parallel to working in games. So we saw like the GameCube, the PS2, the Xbox all launch come. So that was quite an enjoyable time. Then, obviously because working in a game store, naturally just buy everything. So I bought all those 4 consoles. And it got to a couple of years and I was like, I need a career, really. So I left Game and just sort of like everyone, you just sort of go through the motions of getting the PS3, moving on, PS4. That's where we are at the moment, really.
So you used to work in Game. We'll talk a little bit about that then a little bit later. I didn't know you worked at Game. I didn't know Scott did either. So when Scott Brand says about he had a game shop, he doesn't mean he worked in Game. Did he have his own independent game shop as well after that?
Yeah, he had a market stall. So what he was doing, he was actually working at Game. This is obviously second-hand information for what Scott's told me. That he was working at Game at the time and sort of fleecing them dry when it comes to the trade-ins and then setting them up on his market stall.
Ah, right. Fair enough. I do feel a bit bad talking about Princess Diana when I've got fucking Harry to the fucking left of me as well. You must get that all the while, Jim, man.
Not these days. When I was a lot younger and had a lot more hair, it was a lot more ginger. And the day that he was in the papers one day for
wearing the Nazi suit. Was
it? Yeah, and I went into the bank. A lady behind the counter was like getting one of her colleagues. Doesn't he look like Prince Harry? And I was like, no. Yeah, I used to get it a lot. And when I went traveling around New Zealand for a few months, and I was known as Harry in our group. I did this thing called the Kiwi Experience. You're with the same people for like a month, and yeah, I was just known as Harry. I don't think they even knew my real name.
You should have like kind of said you wasn't, like you'd have been getting in pushing queues and everything, because I'm guessing people in New Zealand, you were close enough sort of thing. You're British and you looked a little bit like him.
Yeah, I should have done.
But the next thing I like to talk about is a little bit about YouTube and your YouTube journey. So Jim, you obviously go back a lot longer than I thought. You said you've been around for 10 years. So tell us that story. The guys in the comments will be massively interested in that for sure.
Yeah, so being sort of like into IT and the web and stuff, I sort of jumped on YouTube when it was sort of become quite popular at the beginning. And back in sort of like the late, how do we call it, noughties, I suppose, like 2007, 2008, I was really into doing track days in my car. And I used to have a camera in my car, and I used to film myself doing them. And I used to go to Santa Pod and film races on the strip and all that stuff. And I used to upload it to YouTube and got quite a lot of views. And back then, I remember it quite well, actually. They used to have a counter on your profile, and it used to tell you how many videos you'd watched. That information I think only YouTube has now. But in the end of 2007, early 2008, I'd watched over 10,000 videos then.
Fuck
I know. A lot of them was like music, playing music in the background whilst at work and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I sort of that was kind of my first go at YouTube, just putting track day videos. They're still on there on my like personal account. I don't know how many views they've got now, probably not that many, but that was kind of my first go at it really. It was kind of in its infancy. And then didn't really bother with it. Still obviously watched videos, but didn't put any content up. And then quite a few years ago, 2013, 2014, I got a new job and the commute was horrendous. And I went back to riding a motorbike again. And I was commuting 50 miles a day on my motorbike, and I got a helmet cam. And just did sort of compilation videos really of like buses pulling out in front of me, like I'd seen like a supercar or something interesting.
Scott, whatever you're watching, we can hear on the fucking stream. Are you watching somewhere? Oh, sorry, mate. I could hear feedback. Sorry.
So yeah, I was recording videos on my motorbike and just putting together all the different like things I'd seen in the day, like cars pulling out on me and stuff. And yeah, I did that for a bit, probably 6 months, and then kind of stopped uploading. And then I decided to, well, I was back into game collecting at that point, and I was sort of searching for different YouTubers and pick up videos and stuff. Best time at the pod. I did a 15.1 or 14.1, I think, is the best time in my Clio 182, which I still own. Actually, I've had the car for 16 years.
It's funny you said that. I sold one of them 6 months ago.
Did you? Yeah, good cars. I bought my new one. I still got it. So
nice.
140 odd thousand miles now, still going strong. But I haven't driven it for a week. So yeah.
Oh, go on. This is gonna go in another direction. But sorry, go on, Jim.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I started watching some pickup videos, and I stumbled across, as we all do, Stu 2T UK, and he was collecting for the Master System pretty heavily at the time.
Whoa, hang on. You fucking said Master System right early, and you've just said it fucking wrong now.
Really? I always pronounce it Master System, because that's the actual
You just
name.
said Master System, just. I swear to God.
Wow.
It's clearly catching.
Same thing. Tomato. Yeah, so I found Stu's videos, and kind of I've watched them at a long time before even commenting. And then eventually I was getting these really good pickups, and I decided to start doing videos myself. And I did them actually on my personal channel, but the quality was crap. I was rubbish at talking to camera, and I kind of just gave up on it and deleted them. And then I thought I'd then start doing it properly. And that was about 2.5 years ago. And I think I'm on like pickup video like 56 now, something like that. And yeah, here we are. I'm still doing it. I don't do them as often as I used to, but I still try to knock out a video at least once a month if I can. So quite a long time on YouTube, like really into it, big break, really into it, big break. And now I'm being back into it for the last couple of years, and I think I'll be on it now forever. So really enjoy the community aspect of it, because back before, you didn't have all this live stream stuff. You didn't have the comments section was never really that popular. A lot of people used to watch YouTube not logged in. So I think YouTube's changed a lot. I've also tried live streaming as well. I did a couple of those like a couple of years ago, but with not many subscribers, I didn't really get many viewers. So something I might explore again. I like this kind of community vibe with the whole like chat, multiple people on the screen, comments going on, and I think this I prefer more than like playing a game and people watching it, because people can just go play the game themselves. And one thing I did find as well, I don't want to go on too long on this point, but I found myself watching a lot of gameplay videos, and I'd be like, why am I watching someone play a game? Why don't I just play it myself?
Yeah.
Something strangely addictive about watching somebody else play games. It's like the guy sitting next to at work, he's got hooked on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, so it's quite an old game now. But every lunch break, he will just watch Modern Warfare 2 videos. And I'm like, mate, it's a really old game now. Why don't you just play it instead?
I'll say it all depends who's streaming the game. Like, I used to watch Carl Woodland32. He used to play FIFA daily, but I used to go for that more for the chat and the comments than watching someone play, because it was like this, it was live. I'll watch gameplays if it's a game that I'm thinking of purchasing that I don't like. Samurai Pete's Cat's Guy on the Famicom. I didn't want to just buy that because I like the cartoon. I wanted to know whether it was, because it's not a cheap game. I wanted to know whether it was worth importing for the quality of the game as well. But the only time I've generally watched just gameplay, I've said this before, I think it was Modern Warfare or Modern Warfare 2. There used to be a guy who used to just troll people called General Minus, and he just used to wind people up on there, and you'd have people screaming down the mic at him. I used to watch that, but generally watching someone go through a game and complete it, I think the time that I'm watching them complete this game, I could play that game for myself, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I did watch a gameplay video recently because my brother-in-law kept badgering me to start playing that new Battle Royale mode on the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and I was like, look, that sort of game doesn't appeal to me whatsoever, so I decided to watch a video of it, and I was like, actually, it does look alright, so I've been playing that a bit recently.
Yeah, Warzone, that's quite a good game.
Yeah, that's it, Warzone, yeah.
It's quite a good game. I like Fortnite. I like online gaming for the social aspect of it more so than the game. Like, we were all having a lot of fun with FIFA 19. I play Fortnite with Big Game. When I say with Big Game Al fucking talks utter bollocks and does no contribution to the game whatsoever. He's just there, sort of thing. But I like the social aspect of online gaming for sure. Same with Warzone. So, Scotty boy, can we have your YouTube journey? You know, not too much about the community. We'll get onto the community as a separate question, sort of thing. Like,
yeah. So, I think I probably started watching it properly well over 10 years now. And the first sort of channel that really sort of sticks in my mind is Classic Games Room. And what's the guy in it? Mark. He used to do really, really decent reviews, quite humorous, reviews of, he'd do retro and modern games, but you could watch there would only be 5 minutes each, and you could watch them for hours, regardless of what the game was or the system was. And what I will say is, what a dumpster fire that channel has become. I don't know if you've looked into it recently, but it is a shame. I mean, he reached 400, 500,000 subscribers, and then all of a sudden he's ditched all that and then started writing comics and trying to push his comics on his audience. And it was like load of rubbish.
That's what everyone came here for, sort of thing. Like,
yeah, exactly. And he was really one of the first kind of guys that was uploading. He was uploading videos before YouTube was a thing, really. Because if you look back at his early sort of Dreamcast stuff, it sort of predates YouTube, really. So yeah, that was the first sort of channel that stuck in my mind. In terms of more local, UK stuff. Yeah, he did, and then I think he kind of got fucked over by them as well. So I don't know what the story was, but after he went to Amazon, I lost interest. You know, again, it's money, isn't it? And you know, corrupts. But yeah, after that, looking at it more locally, so the first few channels I actually sort of focused on and watching regularly was Mark Horsburgh, who's a lovely, lovely guy. Met him at Bury last year. Me and Mark, we've always we share quite a similar kind of interest. We're kind of similar age, and
Scottish Mark we're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice guy. I spent a night on the beer with Mark. Good lad.
Yeah, lovely fella. And I think we kind of grew up the same time, going from Sega System to Sega System. So we had a lot in common, and naturally sort of gravitated to his channel. Ryan Shand as well, if you remember him. No. Okay, so he's kind of a bit of a strange one. Back in the day, he was.
Have you not fucking met any of them?
Who, Ryan?
Any of them? Every YouTuber?
No.
We are a weird breed.
Oh yeah, definitely in that respect. But Ryan was he's another Scottish guy. Started watching his videos, and he was uploading, and he was picking up loads of stuff. Doesn't really do it anymore. Again, I think he had a few run-ins with tubers. I think he kind of left a bad taste in people's mouths, so he was kind of like shunned a little bit. So he sort of disappeared, and then sort of found Retro Dave Nintendo. Yeah, Woodland's mate. Yeah, Woodland, of course, as well. And then it just sort of grows from there, really, doesn't it? Then you discover, other channels, and then you just get ingrained into the sort of community yourself, really. It's just like a snowball effect, isn't it? You discover one, then you discover another, and you get chatting to people, you do trades, and, it's just goes from there, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think my YouTube, I started YouTube and I only set up an account so I could watch, the age verified, music videos. I think, probably stuff like Limp Bizkit with swearing in and shit like that. You had to have an adult verified account. So that's where my Daimster account comes from. But I didn't start making video. Literally, when I started becoming active on YouTube, I made videos straight away, which was 2016. And I only did it because my mate Ant Harper said, look, man, you ought to put your boot. Because I at the time, I was finding lots of the boot sales. I used to share on the Facebook groups, but I didn't get shit, so to say. But when you get snidey comments going, oh, you've not found that at the boot sale. I'm like, do you think I just fucking find random shit to take a photo of to try and brag? I'm literally sharing what I find. If you don't, and I used to get asked the comments, and I just thought, you know what, I can't be bothered with it. And that's when my mate Adam said, you ought to do a YouTube channel. He said, you've got a bit of a personality, do a YouTube channel, share finds. And I will say, I never had any of that. It's not jealousy or arsoness, or I don't even know what to call it. I've never had that with YouTube. Everyone's because you can tell the story. If I was lying about the items I find, I wouldn't have the story of how I found it. Whereas when I assume you take a picture, then people can misjudge. And that's how I came into it. And I remember the first thing I did, because I thought, I've made this video and I don't know if anyone will watch. So I just searched UK retro gamers and comments. And I think Stu was one of the first people I reached out to. Gus Newton, Pete Armour was probably one, and a few others. And to be honest, every one of them came back with positive, and then they shout me out, and then it just circled from there, though. And I've had nothing but positivity really since I've started doing YouTube. So
what really sort of kicked it on for me was my missus was going back to work, and I was actually getting made redundant from my last job, and it just tied in with my redundancy coming in and her maternity ending, and I was actually looking after my son. So Max, who you would have seen at Revival, he was only 6 months old then. He's 7 now. So, I took 6 months out, and I had a lot of time on my hand. A 6-month-old baby is going to sleep a hell of a lot of times. So I had shitloads of time, and I was watching stuff on the internet, and I thought, why not? I'll just give it a go. And that was the sort of catalyst that just sort of started from there, really. But if you go through like the early stuff, you know, you have that enthusiasm for uploading every other day, didn't you? And then eventually, you know, after the years, it sort of fades to once a week, a couple of times a month. But yeah, that was sort of good times, really.
I always look back at my early videos and think, why didn't you swear? I was a much tamer first, probably, but I was
Yeah.
I wasn't saying I wasn't being myself, because obviously I was not being false. I wasn't being a character or anything. I was just being me, but I was like turned down a bit. Whereas now I'm quite comfortable with everything. I'm quite comfortable with what I say. I'm quite comfortable with my audience. I feel much more relaxed. And as you say, like when you first start, the enthusiasm's there. I mentioned this last night. The hardest thing is when you have a break from your rhythm of making a video. The hardest thing is to come back. It's the easiest thing to stop. It's the hardest thing to do again, sort of thing. I don't know if you guys have found that, if like, you know, you've gone out of your rhythm to try and then come back. It's like there's probably about 3 or 4 videos on my fucking channel entitled "I'm Back," and then I have a fucking break again another 3 months later. So
did you guys when you first started making videos do loads of takes?
Oh, do you want to talk about my first video? Fucking, I'll tell you now, right? All my videos now are all done in one take, and it's all because of my first video. Somewhere on an old laptop, probably in my loft, are about 31 efforts at trying to do something in the first take. And every time I made a mistake and I fucking stopped and redone it again, no matter how far I was in. And now I just do it all one take. That's why, like, you know, when I have a brain fart, I'll look up or I'll say a word wrong, and I'll just look at myself at the camera and think, what a dickhead, why have you said that? And I'll just leave that in now. I'll just leave it in.
Yeah.
Whereas the first time I was like, I want this video to be perfect. And I'm like, no, I'm just like, fuck it. They know it's me. They know I'm fucking a bit thick. So fuck it, sort of thing. Like, but how about you, Jim? I'm guessing you took a lot of takes.
Oh God, yeah. Because when I did it on my other channel, I used to do so many takes, and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm just not natural in front of a camera. I hate this. But then when I started again, like doing it properly on this channel, I still used to do sometimes a couple of takes, and I'd often like restart the video 10 seconds in because I didn't like what I'd said or whatever. But now, one take, that's it. And the other day, I'd mentioned it on one of my previous videos. I thought I'd recorded a video and I forgot to press record. And I was like, oh no. And so I did the video again, but I was just so unenthusiastic. I was like, I can't upload that. Like,
you want to know the truth, right? When I was like, obviously, first not working, I thought, you know what? I like doing repairs. I'll fix controllers. I'll change the thumbsticks and stuff. So I set up my camera with my tripod, pointing at the table and everything. Press the button like normal to record. So I'm there talking to the fucking camera, fixing the controller, showing it to the camera, put it back to part, check the fucking camera at the end now and put no batteries in.
Oh no.
And I just thought, fuck it, I can't redo that video. It was a one take thing because I'd obviously repaired it all. There was no way I could fucking redo it. So
yeah.
That's why the fixing aspect of this channel has not kicked off.
I just think if you can, just do it in one take and then leave all the things you don't like in it, because it's just more natural, I think.
Yeah, it's more human. More human to leave a mistake, and I'm not one. The only time I do jump cuts is sometimes I forget an aspect of the video that I want to do. Like when I do my normal videos, I like to do shout outs. But sometimes if I've not got that list in front of me, the shout outs, I think, fuck who, you know, because I like to get the channel's name correct and everything. I'll then re-edit that in. I'll try and make it as smooth as possible. But anything that's like kind of for myself, if I fuck that up, I'll leave it in because it feels natural.
Yeah, it's like my last video. I mentioned about I downloaded Uncharted 4, and I said I'd got it from Nintendo Plus. Now, if I'd have done that video back when I started, I would have reshot the video. A year ago, I would have put a subtitle in there instead of like an asterisk to say PlayStation Plus. Now I'm like, I'm not even going to bother even doing that because people know what I'm not talking about. Why do I need to correct it exactly so it's perfect? There's no point.
But as you say, yeah, it feels more human. How about you then, Scott? Have you ever like re-edited and edited, or okay?
No, I mean, if I balls it up, I'll sometimes reshoot, but on the whole, no. I find it really irritating when I'm watching other people on the internet, and it's constantly after 3 seconds there's a jump cut, and it's like, so here I am talking like this, and then I'm back in. It's like it's really, really off-putting. So no, I just film it, and I think when you watch stuff back, sometimes you can overanalyze it, and you're your own worst critic. You say, oh, I should have said this, or I shouldn't have gone, or I shouldn't have gone, just do it, just get on with it, and people ain't gonna pick up on those sort of things that you were sort of picking up on, So no, I just roll with it, really.
Yeah, you're right there. You're almost, because your own habits, you pick up on them more than like fucking the other, however many people are watching you who just completely pass that by. If you know what I mean, you pick up on your own habits more so than anyone who's watching. How about you? Yes, Jim. Do you pick up on your own habits?
Yeah, I say a lot, and I just did it then without even thinking about it.
you know, when a lot, I always think of, remember the Fast Show when they used to have the foreign footballer on, like the fake footballer, and used to go and I always think I sound like that, but I'll just leave it in there, and it is part of my videos. I'll call myself a fucking idiot. I'll look up to the sky, and that I almost imagine that's probably part of the charm, watching me fuck up when I make a video, because I'm not perfect. I've never scripted anything. I tell a lie.
I write bullet points down sometimes and then whiz through those. But what I often find is, because I'm one of these people where I don't want to inconvenience someone watching my own video, so I don't want to make it too long. Because there's nothing worse than seeing a video come up that you'd normally probably watch, and it being like twice the length that you'd want to. So I try to always keep my videos under 20 minutes. If I can do it under 15 or 10, even better. And what I tend to do is I talk too fast, and I just get it through. I go through it too quickly when I should probably like space out. Because a lot of the time people watch videos in the background; they're not like glued to the screen watching them. So it doesn't need to be like the news, does it? It just, I think you should just let it flow. So I need to get better at slowing down and just being more. If you
want a tip for slowing down and breaking yourself up, especially between points, have a drink with you. I'm not encouraging anyone to drink, but when I used to do it, I used to either have a glass of squash or a cup of tea. And almost once you've finished that section, have a swig, because that's almost like your reset, plus your audience's reset to then listen to the next part. So it all doesn't blur in one. Have a cup of tea, have a drink. I don't even know where I learned that from. I think I used it for myself, because like you, I was like, blah, 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 and without taking a fucking breath to try and get everything out while I still remembered it. Whereas now, like, obviously when I'm doing these streams, I'm drinking fucking alcohol all the while. But when I do my normal videos, it's squash, it's a cup of tea, just something that in between points will break everything up, sort of thing. So that might be something to help you, certainly. While we're talking about YouTube, we'll go to Jim first, Scott second. Let's talk about the gaming community, because Jim, I believe you've been to a couple of Blackpools, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Just talk about not the gaming community on YouTube, how you felt welcomed in, if you did feel welcomed in, and then what it was like meeting some of those people firsthand. So just your little story of that, really, I guess.
Yeah. So I've been to quite a few events, but I've been to a couple and not really met anybody. So my first event, I think, was Blackpool a couple of years ago. And although I've been watching YouTube, I don't think I really recognised anyone.
I'll be honest, Jimmy, I saw you in passing, but I was wankered that night. So it's probably good I didn't come and say hello, because whenever I'm at an event, if it's after 5 o'clock, I'm definitely on the beer. If it's near 9, I'm pissed.
Yeah, so I met I think the first person I met from YouTube, I think, was Tootie, and he tapped me on the shoulder. I was browsing through, I think,
he harasses anyone. Were you with your partner by any chance?
She had just gone to the toilet, actually, and was on her way back. It was really weird, because one of the first things I think he said to us was, "Oh, did you come in the Mini?" And that was because we've got a Mini. We were driving the Mini to Blackpool, and I think it featured in the video for a second. And he just picked up on that. It was really quite strange. But yeah, he tapped me on the shoulder and we were chatting for a while. Really nice guy. Much taller than I thought he'd be.
Everyone says that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I tell you who no one ever says that to. Gruss Newton.
I'm just going to get a drink.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I met Gruss as well. He came up to me, and I had no idea who he was because although I think he was subscribed to my channel, I don't think I had subscribed to his at the time. So I met him, and then subsequent events, I met other people like Mr. Bads, really nice guy, Pete Armour, Scott, Sega Zombie, the other Scott, can't remember his channel name now.
Glory Hunter.
Glory Hunter, yeah, Glory Hunter 82.
He's another little one.
Yeah, and there was loads of Eddie, Dylan, met him at Blackpool. So I've been to a few events now. I've been to Blackpool twice. I went to Play Expo in London, but we didn't really enjoy that very much. That was a bit too commercial, I think. There wasn't really a community feel to that one, I didn't think. And then, I went to Revival as well.
You've been to Revival? Did I see you at Revival? Because like, Revival is my home away from home when it comes to what's it called?
Yeah, I don't think we knew each other then. I saw you stalling out. Oh, another person I just thought of is Alex, Nintendo Arcade. He randomly bumped into me and yeah, we'd spoken. That was just because I'd been taking part, I think, in his high score challenges for a couple of Super Nintendo games. So everyone I've met has been really nice. Yeah, it's just been a lot of fun. Oh, who's the other guy? Oh, God, I can't remember his name now. He's got all the candy cabs in the background of his video.
Cojones Deloro. That will be
the guy.
They're not candy cabs, though. Don't fucking call them candy cabs.
Okay. Well,
is it Cine? Not Cine Steve?
Yeah, I've met Cine Steve as well. Yeah, I've met him. Yeah.
He's another strawberry blonde fella as well, in his Cine Steve.
Yeah.
Romford Pele.
Yeah, that was it. Ray Parler, because I thought you sounded like Ray Parler, yeah.
I tell you what, he doesn't fucking play in midfield like him on FIFA, that's for sure.
So yeah, I found the community really, really good. Everyone's been super friendly when I've met them. I'm sorry if I've forgot anyone else's names, but yeah, the first person I think I met was Tutu. So,
you have no choice because that fucker just comes up to you and grabs you.
Yeah, I know. He'll find you anywhere.
He probably doesn't remember when he first met me. I didn't even know he was a YouTuber then. It was at an event, my first event I was training at, and I took a load of empty boxes for consoles because I'd come into and they weren't just normal consoles. There was a joystick, Japanese joystick for the NES, or the Famicom, should I say. There was a box for the Turbo Express as well. And he come over hoping they were full systems. I was like, nah, they're just empty boxes. And that was the first time I met Stu. And then obviously I've got to know Stu quite well. I like to have that's it. I was trying to buy your Turbo Express boxes. I've still got that up in the loft. True story. I was going to give that to Gruss Newton, but he's sold his thing, so I'm glad I didn't. He's got money on it. But how about you, Scott? You've obviously been around in the community a long time. I mean, I first met and probably spoke to you properly. Was that at Bury Arcade Club when we had a good sit down talking a bit of football?
Yeah, we were talking about football. Well over an hour, wasn't it? Hour and a half, I think.
Yeah, I think there was me, you, and Stu sat down.
Yeah, we were talking about West Brom and what football clubs look for in certain players that we can't really go into. Yeah, but yeah, on the whole, I'm not being, I'm not underselling it, but I do think if you get involved with it, it actually adds so much value to your life because you meet so many different types of people and you come across so many, different aspects of the hobby that you're probably unfamiliar with, that you'd never, and people, the length and breadth of the country, outside the UK as well. I don't think it's nothing but positive, really. I mean, you get the trolls, but everyone gets them. But as a whole, the community is, fantastic place to be, really. I think our community is the real community, and I think we are the genuine community. I think we are in it for the hobby and the interest rather than other aspects. But I think I'd recommend anyone, to do it. Don't sit on the fence. It's far more rewarding to be part of, and it's always open arms as well. They welcome all sorts, and very, very rewarding on the whole. I think it's definitely something for anyone to get involved with.
I'd echo that forwards, and I know there's probably people in the comments who are just watchers, who don't even comment in the comments. They just watch and listen to this, which is perfectly fine. But what I'd say is, if you want to get involved in this community, even if it's just commenting, if you want to start making content, if you just want to come and talk to anyone who's here, who's been here either on this show or been here in the comments, and you want to come and talk to us, we're all very approachable. We're all just normal human beings. None of us believes we're superstars or anything like that. We're just normal blokes and women who are interested into games, and we all act like a good crack. We're all very approachable. So if there's anyone sitting on the fence who's just watching this, who's worried about commenting, who's worried about making content, we as long as you're a genuine person, you will always have the support and backing from everyone in this community. If you come in as a fraudster, or you think you're going to come and gain anything out of this community, you will get found out pretty quick. That is as blunt as I'd put it. But Scott, who were some of the first tubers you met then, and what were your experience of meeting them? Please don't say Tooty, because he's sounding a bit like a...
No. It really wasn't. I didn't actually met Stu. I was speaking to Stu for quite a few years. Never really got round to actually meeting him until Doncaster about 3 years ago. So, yeah, Stu was always quite an enigma in terms of actually wanting to meet him, because obviously you get to know people so well, but you don't really, because you don't actually ever sort of get to meet them. So no, it wasn't. So the first guy I ever met was Retro Dave Pinball. So Retro Dave Nintendo. So we got chatting on, I don't know, Facebook or whatever, and Dave lives somewhat close to me, about an hour or so. So we arranged to meet up, and saw his man cave, and he was really the first sort of guy that I got to know. In terms
very
of
nice guy,
event,
very very approachable, Dave. Very nice guy.
Yeah.
What I'd say is, I'm a bit of a gobby fucking gobshite, bit of a big head, but I have good banter with everyone in the community, and I can talk to anyone in the community, even on any levels, and I could probably be as far away from them in general day-to-day life spectrum, but at some point I can find even ground with someone. I can sit down and have a conversation with anyone. I just want to bring a couple of points. Cine Steve went over 1,000 subs last night when we was in this chat, and also Retro Bear has gone over 400. So if we can just get some clap emojis in the comments for those two guys, that would be fucking brilliant, because it's a massive achievement. Well done to them both for sure. And Dylan, Hyper Trigger X, who's only been going a month, is 3 subs off 150. So if there's 3 people in this fucking chat who are not subscribed to Hyper Trigger X, this is Dylan here. Can we go and subscribe him and get him over that milestone? That would be brilliant. Massive thing in the community, that'd be great. But carry on, Scott. Like as you say, Retro Dave Nintendo, great guy, and a lot of those UK Blacks guys are. Although there's like a little sub community within our community, they're all very welcoming. They're all very involved. Jim said, Alex Nintendo Arcade, great guy, supplies his cabs to Revival. And he's a massively knowledgeable guy. Very, I've had him on this show. No, it's not a fucking show. Why am I calling it a show? I'm on this stream, and I talk to Alex occasionally privately, like I do everyone else, and that's just fucking brilliant. But please carry on.
Yeah. No. So there was also I actually met. So the difficulty that I had was that I was so far away down in Essex, and all of these events, they're always north of Watford, aren't they? So it was actually also having the time, and it was also we've got 3 kids now. At the time we had 2, but we had Max, and we had Phoebe as well, and there's only 18 months between them, so getting that time away when you had such a young family was really tricky. So now they're a bit older, I can come to the events a bit more. I can go to Doncaster, I can go to Revival, I went to Play London. It was all right.
Hold on, I'll stop you there, because Jimmy's just, while you were gone, he mentioned Play London as well while you're off camera.
Yeah.
He didn't enjoy that either. So if we can get both feels of that, because me as someone who's an outsider who's not been to Play London, I've only been to Play Blackpool, but I feel Play Blackpool is different to all the other plays because of its setting, because of its surroundings. So please, if you can tell me your feelings on Play London, that would be great. So Scott, obviously you were going first, so you go first. Jimmy, you give us your feelings.
It was all right. It wasn't so bad. It's the first time I'd been to one. Maybe because it was London, massive. It was really, really populated. You did have to wait quite a while to get the cabs. It was also quite expensive as well. I think it was about £25 a ticket. I don't know how much that is, if it's normally that. But yeah, I probably wouldn't. I don't know. It was all right. It was all right. I don't. It was much of a muchness. There was a lot of arcades there, but to be honest, the main reason I went was because, again, there was the kind of the tubers going. There was Dow, the retro Godfather, big 2D champion Rob. I think Connie's Doloro went. Alex Nintendo Arcade, Scott that you had on yesterday. There was other guys going, so that was really the draw to go to it, really. But I haven't been to Blackpool, but yeah, I know what you mean. Blackpool seems like it's maybe because it's the original.
Duncan, my good friend Duncan, he supplies all the 8-bit, a lot of the 8-bit computers for Revival. He's saying Play was the flagship one, which I believe it's because where Andy Brown lives, he lives near there. But without sounding bad, Blackpool's a little bit more grimy, a little bit. It has that more like down to earth feel. It's not polished. You know what I mean? And
yeah, I don't think they're doing another London one because I think
shenanigans where I can go on the piss is the main thing.
I think the London is really expensive for them to hire out a hall or a venue there. It probably costs. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 8-9 times as expensive as hiring somewhere out in Blackpool. And that was 2 years ago now, so they've not done another one. They've done the Margate one, but I mean Margate's the arse end of Kent, so I ain't going down there. But
yeah, they've also said Play Manchester, which is an event I was looking to go to. They said that's a bit more Comic-Con-y. So what's your feelings on Play London, Jim? Because obviously you've been as well.
Yeah, just before I touch on that, I was going to say that I know we keep mentioning Tootie, but I didn't recognise him originally because he didn't have his vest on. He had a shirt on.
You're fucking lucky you didn't have that vest on.
The wife beater.
That's it. So yeah, London.
Bruce Willis, I call him.
The Bruce Willis of game collecting. So yeah, London. I don't know. I think it was a mixture of stuff, really. I didn't really know many people in the community. I used to travel to London quite a lot for work, and I'm not a big fan of the place, and I hate traveling to and from it, really. And also, I just felt that, you just had to queue so much to get on the arcade cabs, which is probably the main reason I went. And also, a little funny story for London was we had our bag searched on the way in, and we'd got a couple of bananas in our bag because we took our own lunch, and they took it off us. And I don't know whether they took our sandwiches off us as well. I can't remember. But I was like really annoyed.
When we went, because me and Max went, we bought like a Tesco meal deal in the morning, and we got there with all the rest of the guys at about maybe 10:30, and they took all the food, and it was like typical catering shit they had there, and it was way overpriced for what it was. So that left a bad taste in my mouth, and I kind of thought, fuck it, I ain't doing this again. So, if they do that at all the events, I ain't going to another.
One way you could probably fucking get out of them taking any food and or drink off you, I would say to them, well, have you got a vegan option? Is it diabetic friendly? And what sort of allergy tests have you done? Then they would start putting it back. Because I would play that card, I'll say to them, I'm type 2 diabetic, man. I ain't eating your shit fucking burger, although I probably would eat their shit fucking burger. That's neither here nor there. You're there for a gaming event. You're not fucking there to eat. You know what I mean? But that is more down to the event not the event organizer, sorry, the venue, because the venue want to make money off what they sell. And what I would say is, because I know Revival have this same issue when they used to be at the Bescott, they are dictated to within their contract by saying, like, look, we want to make X amount off the bar, we want to make X amount off the food, and that almost ties their hands. Whereas I don't think that was much the case at the smaller Revival they had this year at the smaller venue. although they were supplying a lot better food than what you would fucking get at the Best Scott, to be honest, I will say, because I did eat there. But, you know, I don't see why they're doing that anyway, because they would make more than enough money off the bar. But to take people's foods off them, I'd be saying, you know what, fucking stick your fucking entry fee, stick your thing, I'll go home.
Yeah. I think this is why it's so important for us to try and maintain this yearly arcade club meetup. I know Pete tried to do it, and that's obviously fallen away because of the virus, but I think it's so important for us to try and maintain that as an annual thing, away from play, away from revival, away from you know, gaming markets, because there's always a side reason to be there. Whereas if as a community, if we were to arrange that arcade club meetup, we're there for that one reason, rather than to look to buy or sell or play games. Or
what I'd say is 90% of the fucking tubers who go to Blackpool go for that Friday meet, and that's no disrespect to the event, but I barely go in there. I get a pass. I ask for a pass because I give Andy Brown X amount of money for fucking tables throughout the year by selling it at all these other events. But a lot of the tubers do go for that meetup. I know what you're saying, though, and I'll tell you what, you know, give everyone a couple of months after this is over, maybe even as far as early next year, but whatever fucking meetup we organise, everyone needs to fucking get there just to blow this whole shit out of the system and have a good meetup, good few beers, good few talking about games. Go to Arcade Club, play the arcades, go to Bury, leave the place in a disaster, and we'll go back again next year, or Leeds, wherever it is definitely one for sure.
Yeah, because it was such a great couple of days as well. You know, the evening and the Saturday, you know, fantastic, and meeting so many people. You know, I'd not even come across, like, I'd never met Holly before and never even seen her channel, but I saw her through, you know, Arcade Club. You know, again, what a lovely girl.
Holes is superb, man. It was brilliant to have her on the stream the other day. Obviously, she's a key worker, frontline NHS, the top shows. But what I would say, I've met as many people from doing meetups, doing events, as I have from doing my channel. And that is the strength of the community, because once you get talking to one person, it's almost like a network that you meet other people. And that's what's brilliant, man. You know, when you get introduced to someone, you know you're being introduced to someone who's genuine, who's a similar, like-minded person. And hopefully this stream is doing the exact same. The people who are in the comments are all like-minded. The people who I have on are all like-minded. And if we can keep our little network together and make it even bigger with new people coming in, then even better is what I say. Even fucking better.
Yeah, more power to you.
What I would say is I'm going to hand over to Jimmy, because I know Jimmy wanted to talk Sega Saturn with you. So, no pressure, Jim.
Yeah, I was just curious, really, because I have got a Saturn. I played it a fair bit. I picked up a bundle. I did a video on it ages ago. Picked up a bundle for like 80 quid for a Saturn with about 20 games. And I was just interested to know, really, what are sort of the top 3 rare games that are like hard to find, not necessarily the most expensive. I presume Panzer Dragoon Saga is the number 1, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, that is generally seen as the most expensive one. But to be honest, to get the most out of the console, you've really got to focus on the Japanese market.
Right.
You know, the system only got 220 odd games for the PAL region. In Japan, it was over 1,500, I think.
Wow. Okay.
You know, you've got a lot of old school kind of. I always find the Saturn, and less so the Dreamcast, kind of the last systems that were, you know, had their roots in the arcade, really. And I think that kind of actually hindered them when it comes to the market. But in terms of, you know, the rarest games, if you really want to scratch the surface, there's a game that was a Japanese, that was Sega made this game for a Japanese game show, and the contestants would actually play this on a Saturn, and there's less than 100 copies, and when they come up they go for tens of thousands of pounds. But in terms of actually physical releases, you know, there could be a list as long as your arm of games over 200, 300, 400 pounds. You know, a lot of the shooters, Hyper Duel, you know, obviously everyone knows Radiant Silvergun. There's a hell of a lot of expensive titles on there. But you don't need to be spending big bucks when it comes to, getting the most out of it. You don't need to have that sort of that prestige title. Majority of games are actually, like most things, they're quite reasonable priced. It's just a case of doing the homework and finding what takes your interest, really. But if you're just getting into the Saturn, I would probably say go for Japanese, because the games, and there's so many people that are importing games from Japan. You can import them from Japan directly yourself, or join Galaxy Sega. There's loads of people out there that will be looking at buying and selling.
Without promoting him too much, I will say
Yeah.
Alan McCluskey, Japanese Alan, he'll do you a good deal. What I say with Japanese Alan, if you're going to buy a few games, don't be afraid to ask for a deal, because Japanese Scottish Alan, he'll cut you a good deal. I'm touch wood, I've never had a bad deal off Alan. He's always sort of So he's at most of the big events. My quick question is, I've got a PAL Saturn. I need to have that adapted to play Japanese games, or would I be just better buying a Japanese Saturn? Scott, your opinion?
So personally, I've got a modified Saturn that plays all regions at 50-60 hertz. I wouldn't recommend playing PAL games. Sorry, a PAL Saturn with Japanese games with the action replay, because they play at 50 hertz. You get the borders. It's very noticeable. I picked up my modified Saturn on eBay for 80 quid, which is quite reasonable, I think. But yeah, it plays all regions and 60 hertz. Like any console, it's the way to go, really. But yeah, it's if you're looking at collecting, I'd say obviously Japanese. PAL is all right. It's okay. The thing with the PAL market is that because the nostalgia is there for people, and because the limited market is so much smaller, so many of the games are overpriced compared to the Japanese market. So, for example, if you're looking at getting Die Hard Arcade, that can cost you between £60 and £70 in PAL. That would cost you about 10 to 15 quid in Japan. A lot of the fighting games, Street Fighter Collection is one that really stands out. That's £250 to £300 game now. Wow. In Japan, you can pick it up for 20 quid. Unless you are a full set collector, there's not really any reason to get a PAL Saturn, I'd say. I've got about 30 PAL games myself. I've got the exclusives, but on the whole, they're ones that I haven't shifted, or they're ones that have just, like anything, just in storage, really. But if I'm buying Saturn games now, it's always Japanese.
Yeah, it's a system I just don't really know much about. Sort of growing up, I didn't know anyone that had a Saturn. Everyone had a sort of jumped from the Mega Drive, Mega CD to the PS1. And it's the same with the Dreamcast. Like, I only knew a couple of people with a Dreamcast, and I've never really even, I think I played one a couple of times. And it's only sort of since getting back into the hobby that I've actually gone out and bought one and bought a few games for it. No, I'm sure, again, this is one of the reasons why I quite like watching that the video response videos to David Plays Retro Games Badly. He's done sort of the series of, which inspired people to do those sort of 10 games you've discovered whilst collecting. And I was watching Pete Armour's video, and he'd sort of mentioned a couple of Saturn and a couple of Dreamcast games. And it's watching those kind of makes me want to try some new games. But yeah, I was just curious to know, really, because that and the Dreamcast systems I just haven't had much interest in, and therefore don't really know much about. Whereas I could probably tell you what are the rare games on the Mega Drive and the Master System and so on.
I'm going to throw it out there, a quick question. Do you think if the Saturn and the Dreamcast got as much love back then as they did now, because they are the much favoured machines over like your more common, because they're not as common as your PlayStation and 64. If they'd have got that love back then, Sega would probably still be about now. But then again, Sega also caused their own problems with the mistakes with the 32X, with the poor marketing, with the poor prices. But I always look at the Saturn and the Dreamcast now, that they're almost like cult classics within the gaming community. Like, that they're much more appreciated now than what they were at the time. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but that's just the way I feel.
Yeah, no, I'd go with that.
Yeah, you get the same with films, don't you? You get films that weren't appreciated at the time and now are like super popular.
Well, it's like me and the missus, we were watching Roadhouse with Patrick
That's
Swayze.
a great film. I
And
love
everyone goes, fucking love that film. I love it when he does his roundhouse kick and he rips his throat out with his hand. I fucking love that. But at the time, it was fucking shit. It was, crap reviews. People saying, "Why is Patrick Swayze in this film?"
I was going to say, you know what the biggest problem with Roadhouse was at the time is that Patrick Swayze was a heartthrob, not an action guy.
Yeah, he was in Dirty Dancing, wasn't he?
But looking back, I'd say Roadhouse is probably my favourite role he has.
Yeah.
But
have you seen the Family Guy where they do Roadhouse in it and he's constantly
keeps doing the spinning kicks. Yeah.
Roadhouse.
Yeah.
But again, it's just like I just don't like. Everyone loves the Saturn. Everyone you talk to now in the game community wants Saturn games, wants Dreamcast games. They love it. But back in the day, I mean myself included, I jumped from Sega to PlayStation just because PlayStation blew my mind, and PlayStation, as a person of my age, was much more affordable. There was
also, those two systems have got two of the worst cases of all games. You've got Saturn cases, which the glue comes apart and just don't age very well, and you've got Dreamcast games with the dodgy hinges. Honestly,
well, Dreamcast games like explode on purchase, basically. And fucking Saturn games look like they were all put together on a Friday afternoon, don't they? Fucking blob here, blob here, blob here, blob here. Done.
Yeah. The later ones are very solid, though.
I've got a few variants, actually. I don't know if you've seen. I've got a hard case and a glass case Saturn game.
I've got a few hard case games, but
I've got this hard case FIFA. It's more
they were EA games.
Yeah, that was more like. But I've also this one's disintegrated. Unfortunately, it's like a plastic glass. This has got crushed when I purchased it.
So that Street Fighter movie, that's the only game that come out like that, and they're old. They're actually American. Yeah, because that's an EA game.
Yeah,
so they're EA,
and that's a case as well. That's an actual.
Yeah, that's the later one.
Yeah, that's a proper case.
That Street Fighter, the movie, though, they're actually American Mega CD cases.
Oh, are they? So if I needed a replacement, that's where I could get one from.
Yeah. And that's the only game that come launched like that for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, that was smashed when I bought it from the boot sale. I think I paid £1 because it was fucking smashed. But, I just wondered the different variants, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's even... Sorry, go on, Scott.
No, go on.
I was going to say, there's even variants of the clamshell cases for the Game Gear.
Go on, is that?
Yeah, if you... Mortal Kombat 3 has got a different style of clamshell case to other games.
I didn't even know that. We can talk. I was going to get onto that though next, because obviously we've talked about. We'll talk a bit more about Scott and why you like the Saturn so much, but also your other collections. So, but Jimmy, to tell because you're a Game Gear collection, you're one of the few people I know who collect Game Gear, and you've got a substantial collection, man. 150, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact total. I think it's actually near 160 now. Yeah, I am going for a full set on it. I don't know why, because half the games are probably going to be, half the games are crap. But yeah, it's not really, I love Sega. Well, in fact, I love all games, but out of all the game collections or subsets I've got, I seem to have got more Game Gear than anything. And I don't know whether we're going to discuss it later on in the video, but that Game Gear was one of the first sort of parts of my collection back in 2001. I started buying.
We will discuss collection.
Okay, I'll talk about that later then. But yeah, all of a sudden I'd got to like 30, 40, 50 Game Gear games. I was like, oh my God, I've got like so many. And then I've got a new colleague at work, and on his first day we were sat together at lunch. I was like, oh, what kind of stuff do you do in your spare time? And he said, I collect retro games. I was like, no way, do you? I was like, what games are you interested in? He goes, oh, I love the Game Gear. And I'm like, no way. So between us, we've both been helping each other collect sort of games in the last sort of like 6 months. and it's something that like I've been quite actively doing. But if you've watched any of my content, you'll know that I don't like paying up for games, and until recently, I've never spent more than £5 on any retro game.
Yeah, you are known as one of the tight bastards. Like,
yeah, I'm tight and very tight when it comes to gaming. Like my collection, like my Mega Drive collection, I've got about 150 games, and I think the average price paid is probably between £1.50, £2 a game. Just because I got quite lucky and I've had a lot since I was younger, or I've been given them. But yeah, I'm quite tight when it comes to buying games, and I've just accumulated like a lot of stuff. And there's very few games I think now that I want to get. Like I've got a list, and every so often I'll splurge and spend maybe 10 or 15 quid and buy a game from that list, or I just hope I pick it up in a bundle.
Nice. I've got 3 quick questions for you, Jimmy, and then we'll move on to talking about collections. We'll go to Scott first. So, first one's on the screen. Jimmy, favourite Game Gear game?
Probably for nostalgic reasons, Castle of Illusion. Or Columns. I actually love Columns, honestly. It's a great game.
I wasn't expecting that. Question for Jimmy, favourite Lynx game? Do you even collect Lynx games?
No, I don't have a Lynx. I'd like to get one, and I've missed out a couple of times on deals of those. But
I have got a Lynx. I have not many games, but I have got
one or two.
I've got a Model 2, and the next question is from my mate Darth Steve 333, who needs to do another video. Question for Jimmy: has he got Game Gear with one of those modern screen replacements?
You're talking about the McQuill screen modification? No, LCD screen. No, I've only got a recapped Game Gear.
I've got one that mine's not the newest one. Mine's one of the earlier ones when they changed it to an LCD screen and stuff like that. I've had that for 7 years, and it doesn't miss a beat, to be honest.
I want to get one, but they're just so expensive. So I'm on the. I've registered for the. What's the name of it? The new analog they're bringing out this year.
Right.
The company that brought out the Analog SG, they're bringing out their Analog Pocket, which you can play Game Gear, Game Boy Color. Yeah, I've ordered. Well, not ordered, but I'm on the list for one of those.
Yeah, so I've got the.
Go on. Sorry, I was saying. I'm guessing you've got the modified screen, yeah?
Oh, yeah. So I've got the McWheel screen. It's actually on my original Game Gear as well that I've had since a kid. You are right, Jimmy. It was 150 quid. And obviously you have to send it to Germany to, I can't remember the guy's name, Stefan, I think. But yeah, it's got VGA output as well, so you can play it on big screen. You get different screen modes as well with it. It's a nice piece of kit, but it really makes the Game Gear sort of come alive, really, especially nowadays where they're all washed out and damaged capacitors and everything now. You can't replay them these days.
No, I don't. I very rarely. Yeah, the only time I ever use my Game Gear is just to test my pickups. I rarely play them. I just like collecting them.
Yeah, I'd recommend getting one, mate.
I'm imagining mine's got one of the old when they were just swapping them for like an LCD screen sort of thing. It's not the newer version. Still, it was an expensive thing back in the day. It's been recapped, but it plays well. I know I'm not going to get any bleeding or fading or anything like that. And I've had that 6-7 years, and it doesn't miss a beat. But what I will say is I don't pick up a Game Gear now secondhand. I don't bother.
Yeah, they all don't work.
It's either one of two things in it. It's either no sound and a picture and no sound, or fucking neither. You very rarely get one now secondhand that doesn't miss a beat. That's for sure.
Yeah, you get a tenner for one though. I often pick up lots of, well, not so much recently, but a lot of Game Gear bundles off eBay. And yeah, I just flip the Game Gear straight on eBay, and you'd get a tenner all day long for someone who's clearly buying it to recap it. Yeah,
well, they just want it to, as you say, even if it's faulty, they'll buy it for the parts and the cases and stuff like that. But we'll talk a bit about collecting, and we'll go to Scott first. So tell us about your collection, how you go into collection, and you said SegaSaturnLad, but that probably doesn't apply really so much anymore.
When I first started the channel, the Saturn is still one of my favourite systems, and I was collecting heavily for it as well. You know, I had well over 150 odd games, but the thing is, I haven't got a games room. I haven't got a man cave. Like I said, we've got 3 kids, so I haven't got the space to have all these games out on display like you guys. So what I have to do is I have to be selective with my systems. I, have a couple. I'm lucky enough to have a back of the house. We've got an extension, so I've got my Bang & Olufsen, and I've got Mega Drive, Saturn set up at the moment. So I have to be selective with what I'm sort of playing. But in terms of a collection, a lot of it's just stored up in boxes in the loft. We've got about 10 of these, these huge plastic boxes that are full of stuff, PS1, Saturn, Mega Drive, Master System, Nintendo stuff. It is just a complete mismatch of different shit, really.
Do you keep looking at your eldest bedroom and thinking, one day, one day that will be my games room?
Not really. It's more a hope when the kids move out. But with the eldest being 7, it's got a few years yet. But one thing I will say is that having kids and being so into retro gaming, it's so rewarding seeing them play it as well, and getting that enjoyment from it. Because my kids, they're kind of like, they're not really exposed to modern gaming. I've got a PS4, but everything I've got on it is not suitable for young kids, So when it comes to the ease of pick up and play of retro, they're always playing that. They'll always play the Mega Drive, they'll play the PlayStation, they'll play the Dreamcast. So, that's definitely one sort of benefit of having retro. I kind of want to keep them away from Fortnite. I want to keep them away from fucking Rocket League and all that shite. I'm not into online games.
You know what? A kid can probably master and play a retro game more comfortably than a modern game anyway, and get more enjoyment out of it, I reckon. Yeah. Because you look at all the mobile games, that they're just glorified retro games, most of them anyway, that you can buy on a mobile and play. Even going back to stuff like Angry Birds, that's just on one plane. It's a 2D game. Temple Run again. That they're all just stuff that could have been fucking done on an old system, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like Temple Run always reminds me of the Sonic levels when you're going down the tunnel and you're picking up the rings left and right. It's just a glorified version of that, really.
Yeah, I'd go along with that.
And as I say, like my best mate, he got me to get him a NES Mini. I got him one really cheap so he can play with his daughter when he has her for the few days during lockdown. And he said, she can play those games quite easily and get better at them. Whereas I think certain games, unless kids are playing against kids their own age, like games you just mentioned, Fortnite, Rocket League, unless they're playing against kids, I mean, they could be coming up against a 30-year-old bloke like me, and I'm just going to fucking destroy them with no mercy. So how about you, Jimmy? Because your collection is very unique because you own a lot of what you had growing up, and it does have my envy, I will say. Yeah,
I'm one of these people that it went up in the loft when I was a kid, and it stayed there for 20 years, and I was quite lucky that it didn't get rid of anything. But most of the stuff was always, as I said earlier, was mostly hand-me-downs from my uncle. I was quite lucky when I was a kid. My uncle, he'd always give me his old computer, his old games console. And when you think back and look at the dates, there were still modern systems at the time. So I was really quite lucky. And I've touched on it before in some of my own videos, but my mum used to be a childminder, and we had 2 girls that kind of lived with us when we were kids. And one of them, she always had the latest system. So we had a Mega CD in the house when I didn't know anybody else that had one. And I was just it wasn't mine, and it'd be set up for a couple of weeks at a time, and I got to play it. And so I was quite lucky in that respect. And as I say, I kept all my stuff, went up in the loft. And then I didn't really although I was playing games and everything, it wasn't really, I'm going to talk about the collecting part. I didn't really start collecting until something weird happened at college. So I went to college in 2001, and I did a computing course, and I discovered emulators. And I was like, wow, I can play all these SNES games and all these Mega Drive games on my computer whilst I'm supposed to be working at college. And a lot of my other college mates were doing the same, and they knew I was really into it, or really into games. And one of my mates said, I've got some Game Boy games if you want to buy them. I'm like, yeah, okay, bring them in. So he brought them in, let me flick through like some of them that I didn't have or I was interested in getting, and price them up, and I brought them up.
You know, when you sit forward, mate, there's some sort of crackling, and that's I don't know. I don't know where the crackling's come from. That's it. It stopped. I think it's when you've got that tablet close to your mic, your computer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I'll move it away.
Because we're getting piss take in the comments. Gus Newman asks if you've got, and Kay reckons it's coming from the bolts in your neck.
So yeah,
Gez says it sounds like a buzzing bee, but anyone who played FIFA or whatever game, I was in a group chat yesterday, a massive fucking bumblebee flew into my room and it was flying around my mic, and all you could hear was me shitting myself going out the room. I had to go and get one of my sliders and kill this bee. It was fucking huge. And all I was going to Big Ali's going, there's a fucking bee in my room, and I could hear him saying through the headset, oh no, I can hear you. It was fucking massive. But anyway, sorry to interrupt, Jimmy. I one could hear what you were saying.
That's all right. So yeah, my college mates were all just bringing in all their consoles, and I bought a Game Gear with a load of games off another mate. And I got quite into eBay and was just like bidding on stuff. And I was a massive user of Yahoo auctions. I don't know if anyone remembers those. Yeah, and so I was just buying all this stuff. And then I kind of fell out of love with computers and gaming in general, and it all just went up in the loft. And then I did actually sell off quite a lot of my Mega Drive games in the early 2000s, I think 2004, because I actually searched my emails a while ago to look at the exact date. Yeah, and got rid of loads of games, loads of Game Boy stuff. And then it wasn't really until, I'd say, probably 5 years after that, my dad came home from work with an old Mega Drive with loads and loads of games, and I got back into it again. So again, back on eBay, picking up a few bits and bobs, and then I just stopped altogether. And then I'd say probably about 5 years ago, I started going back to boot sales, and I'd pick up the odd thing here and there. So my collecting has been very stop, start. But in that time, I've only ever sold off like one batch of stuff, and it was really just a load of Game Boy games and a load of my Mega Drive collection, and I bought most of it back. So I've been quite lucky. Another thing I was going to touch on as well is that when I started collecting, I got really fed up the last time around, really fed up of the prices. It was just nuts, like a certain Mega Drive games going for 20, 30 quid. And I was like, this is just stupid. Like, why are they so much? Like, these games were released in such huge volumes. And what was happening was I was getting the notification on my phone from eBay, and I'd go in and it had been sold straight away. So being a bit of a nerd and a software developer myself, I actually created a tool that I use with eBay. And I've grown my collection quite extensively using that. So in a nutshell, what it does is it will, based on certain search parameters, it will notify me of an item that's being added to eBay as a buy it now before it appears in the app or on the eBay website. I get like a 20, 30 second head start. And I picked up a lot of the stuff behind me, a lot of these great deals you see in my pickup videos using this tool. So I don't know whether some people might consider it cheating or unethical, but
yeah, I think you're fucking cheating unless you're tool, if I'm honest.
It was my edge.
You got to do what you can do, though.
Yeah, exactly, it was my edge. I'm not one of these guys. I wouldn't go to a boot
you're not come around and cut your internet cable to your fucking house.
Yeah. But like all things, it had its life, and I'd say now it's died out because there's so many other people with similar tools. So, for example, I'll get a Mega Drive bundle pop up, I'll click on it, and it's already sold even before I've got it. So there are people that are getting them before I am now. So
those damn hackers.
Yeah, so I've stopped with that, and I've really just gone down the route of occasional auction wins or just buying bits that I want now, because there comes a point where you just end up with too much stuff. Like, I've got a storage unit. It's quite far away from where I live because I've moved, and I've been there like twice in the last year, and I'm paying this fee every month for it, and it's just full of junk and full of like PS2 games and Wii games and
PS2 games junk then instead of me, because it's me who normally gets the shit for saying that.
Do you know
old nice Jimmy calling PS2 stuff shit? Brilliant. It's not.
I think it's one system that's not aged very well, to be honest. That PS1 and PS2, I don't think have aged great when I go back to them. I think PS1 especially. PS2
later stuff doesn't look too bad, but I know what you're saying. Stuff's god horrendous. Without cutting you off too quick, I've had an influx of a few questions for both of you, so we'll ask them. This one should say just to Scott, but I can ask it to you both. Dana asked Scott, is he looking to pick up Streets of Rage 4 this week? So are either of you looking to pick that up?
So I'm going to probably ruffle Dylan's feathers here, but I think Limited Run are a bunch of fucking cunts. I think that they have created a market within their own, I don't know, how would I put it? I can't really articulate it, but they've basically falsified a false economy of scarcity and rarity. And I've actually got banned from their Facebook group because I kept putting on #boycott limited run on every post that I would write.
That doesn't sound like you at all, Scott.
Hey, mate, I've got an opinion, so I like to voice it. I know, but no, in all seriousness, I think that they probably started off with good intentions. I think that there was a lot of good stuff that they were putting out in terms like the early days of the PS Vita. There was some really good, downloadable games that were, missed from a physical point of view. But I think that now they've just completely flooded their market with a load of dross, really. Plus, also they're in bed with Metal Jesus Rocks, which makes me want to puke. The fact that they are prepared to do a very shady deal with him, where basically he will shout out and say, "Hi guys, this game's very rare, and it's a limited run game," and full well it's a load of shit. He's just literally, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. So I begrudgingly bought Streets of Rage 4, the standard edition, through limited run. So yeah, to be honest, I'll probably not want to open it because I'm that anti-limited run. But I love Sega and I love the Streets of Rage are fantastic. But when I saw that .mu and Lizard Cube Games, the developers of Streets of Rage 4, they got into bed with them bunch of slags. No, it was kind of, my morals were very, shall I or shan't I? And unfortunately, I want to play the game and I want a physical version. I can only hope that eventually another publisher will come along, because when they did Wonder Boy, the Dragon's Trap, there was a Play Asia version as well. So hopefully there might be another version. So I'd shift my limited run one on and get a proper one. But in answer to Dylan's question, yeah, I will be getting the standard edition. I'm not getting the Steelbook and then the Genesis one. Why do you need three boxes for one game? Sorry, Jimmy, your turn.
Jimmy, are you going to be getting it?
No, I don't do limited run games. But I just saw a comment saying about sniping eBay is unethical. I agree, but I'm going to stick up for myself in a way here. Basically, when I created the tool, it was because I was always getting beaten by other snipers. So if you can't beat them, join them. And one thing I did do was I actually created, you can go back and look on my previous videos, I actually created a website so other game collectors could use the tool and actually get some deals themselves. And my colleague at work, who's a game collector, uses the same tool and he's got some stuff from it. And I'd much rather the stuff went to collectors than resellers, who are these other people that are using similar tools.
I think the famous saying is, if you fight fire with fire, don't you?
Or you can't beat them.
Yeah.
What's the difference between you getting early to a boot sale,
Nothing.
and asking and going up to them when they're unloading, say, any old games?
I don't do that. That is my ethical thing that I refuse. If I buy a game off someone, right, that's out, I never go in anyone's boot. If I buy a game off someone, I will say, have you got any more? But I will not go. It's not in my fucking blood to do it, because I
don't go into people's. Yeah, I don't go into people's boots. But as the problem is, if you don't do it, there's 10 other people that are prepared.
But what I find is sometimes while they're all fucking about doing that, someone else 3 cars up is putting stuff out. So while I'm wasting my time asking someone that's already being asked, I might as well fuck off. It's just me, man. I don't do it because I don't like it seeing being done. But I have got another question. This one's from Raz. Hurdy-gurdy-gurdy, you two, gurdy-gurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy. So in English, that is, any of you two collecting modern systems? I don't know why Raz comes here. This is a fucking retro gaming stream, and all he asks about is fucking modern games. Go and play with your Switch or something, Raz. But anyway, if you want to answer his question, feel ahead. Jim, if you want to go first this time.
So if you mean modern sort of
Current gen.
current gen, yeah. Well, I don't have a Switch, so I've got Xbox One and PS4, and I only buy games for those systems that I'm going to play. And there's very few games. I don't really enjoy modern gaming that much. At the moment, I'm playing Uncharted 4 and Warzone, and on the Xbox One, I've been playing Forza Horizon 4. So I very rarely pick up modern games. If anyone is interested, eBay is flooded with people selling bundles of modern games that you could buy and take to CEX and double your money all day long.
Cheers, Jim. You could have told me that off the stream. The competition.
Yeah, but I will say one thing: because I don't live anywhere near a CEX, I don't do it. But I've had some nice bundles of games that I've enjoyed playing. But yeah,
You live in the Outer Hebrides or somewhere.
I live in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, the nearest.
You live near what's it called, Monkey Spaz, I think. Same
What?
sort. No, I'm joking because Jim Monkey Spaz lives miles out into the Highlands, I think.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
Scottish borders, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I live in the middle of nowhere, basically.
So, how about you, Scott? You collecting anything modern, current gen?
Yeah. I don't have an Xbox One. I genuinely don't see the point in the Xbox One because at the end of the day, the exclusives that is going to make you buy the system, and all the multi-format stuff is based on PS4 anyway. So unless you've got your deep links into Xbox Live and you love Forza and you love Halo, that's about it. PS4, I'd actually go on a limb and say I think it's one of the best systems ever. I think that the exclusives. I know you said it in one of your streams the other day. The exclusives on it, they just keep smashing it out every single time. They've had a few dips with, maybe Days Gone. But again, that's still a solid game. But when you look at things like, God of War, Last of Us, what have I got? I mean, I've got shitloads up there. What have I got? So you got like Last Guardian, Drive Club, even things like Wipeout, Horizon Zero Dawn, the Yakuza series. The list goes on. The list goes on PS4. Uncharted,
Yep.
and then going forward, you've got obviously Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima coming out as well. So I know the PS4's coming to a close, but I think history is going to be very, very kind to it in terms of reflective period. But yeah, love the PS4. Awesome system. I think it's better.
It's a great recovery from probably the PS3.
Yeah, I mean, I had a PS3, but
I had PS3. But what I will say is, it's no sooner I got rid of it and got rid of all my games, I didn't miss it one little bit. You know what I mean? Whereas other systems in times gone by, I have missed. Next question is to you both from the Retro Bear. Russ, your friend and mine. Is there a system you haven't collected for, you want to? So basically something you've never collected for, but you'd like to. So Scott, if you want to go first, and then Jimmy.
Not really, to be honest. I think some of the Japanese stuff like the Neo Geo and the PC Engine, they're so emulated now. There's never been that desire for me to go out and pick them up because I haven't got any nostalgia for them. But I think one going off on a bit of a tangent, a left field. One of the systems I do really, really enjoy collecting for, which is very, very niche, is the Neo Geo Pocket Color. And the prices of those games have just they're going to silly prices now.
I've got a Pocket Color that I picked up here.
Okay, it's a great little system.
I've got the camo one, like the blue camo one. Well, I've only got like 2 or 3 games. I've got Metal Slug on it. That's one of the games I've got. And I think I've got a Sonic game and maybe a tennis game. But yeah, it's a great little system. Could do with a light. It's very much like the Game Boy, very, very dull screen sort of thing.
Yeah. But, the thing with them is, if you just want to buy carts, they're very, very cheap. You can literally get a cart of probably Metal Slug 2 for 20 quid or so. If you want a box version, it's going to cost you £150. And it's not because it's, I mean, it is rare because they didn't sell hardly any of them. But when people get into the pocket and they start to buy it, that generally tends to be the first game that people gravitate towards. So, you know, it's a really kind of niche thing to buy. Obviously, you can see it on CEX, but you know, there's £200, £300, £400. I think Cotton on there at the moment is close to £650. You know, so they probably only sold a couple of hundred copies when it was out new. And another thing that affects it is in the European regions, we got the clamshell cases, which are kind of like miniature AES cases, whereas in America, they actually got cardboard cases. So you've got a lot of Americans buying our stock as well, which inflates the prices.
It's about time we got better cases than someone else.
Yeah, but that inflates the prices astronomical, because if you look at someone like Radical Reggie,
I'd rather not.
No, I wouldn't recommend it. But he's always importing from Europe because their cardboard cases are shite, really.
Someone's phone's ringing, I think.
Yeah, well, there's some sort of beeping. Is that true, Craig? Are you winding us all up? I've got a bunch of Switches going cheap. Don't want any of them 50 quid. Are they like light Switches or Nintendo Switches? Is there some sort of ringing on your phone or something, Scott, or some beeping?
I think it's my headset. Bear with.
Okay. We'll go to you anyway, Jimmy, because it's your turn.
Yeah, so the only system I'd like to collect some games for, and I don't have any, is probably the 32X.
Right.
And cardboard box games, not really a huge fan of collecting them because they're just mostly trash now unless you pay a premium. But I've got no nostalgia for the 32X. But yeah, I suppose it's one system I'd probably be interested in. I think most other systems, other than the Lynx, I probably have a few games for.
We're getting it sorted. So the 32X, I'll tell you what's nice. Is it like the box that you put the complete set of the 32X games in?
Yeah, Ben Boyd, right? I think it does those. They're really good. Yeah. Yeah, I'd quite like to get one, but I can't really think of anything else. I'd quite like to pick up a lot of boxed PC games that I used to play back in the 90s and things like that. So yeah, I mean, most of the stuff that I've wanted, or because I've kept most of my collection from a kid, I've still got, or I've gone and got since. There isn't really much else that I really want to collect, and I don't see the point in buying games now for the sake of it. I'd rather spend my money on other stuff. So.
Craig Turner says someone's bullshit alarm's going off. I can promise you it's not me because I don't talk any bullshit. Not here anyway. But we're getting into the last 5 minutes anyway, so it's probably perfect time for the bells to go off. Jimmy, I know we wanted to talk so much more about collecting. What I'll say is once this lockdown's over and I'm doing other different streams, we'll get you on and we'll talk a little bit about that because it's a different niche, a little bit about toys and stuff like that. But we've just run out of time, basically. So what we'll do is I'll get you on one of my first streams when I start doing different ones after the lockdown, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I'll even dig out some of my toys and that sounds a bit wrong.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that might be even better if we can have a little bit of a like show and tell sort of thing. The way I like to
don't hang around with car park. Don't hang around in kids' parks.
So what's it called? The way I like to end the stream is you guys send out a message to everyone who's watching. So Scott, if you want to go first, then Jim, that would be great. So just send a message out to all our viewers and anyone listening to the stream back. Can you hear me, Scott?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we just like to send a message out to everyone who's watching or anyone who's listening back, if you want to send the message out, Scott.
Yeah, keep doing what everyone's doing. You know, congrats on a fantastic stream, Dana. I think it's really galvanised the community. I think it's really brought a lot of people closer together since, when, despite we're all so far apart. So, props to yourself and props to everyone who's viewing. So, yeah, keep it up.
Cheers. Thank you, Scott. Could I'm just mute your mic while Jimmy does his out message so we don't all get tinnitus. In fact, I don't think he's Scott. Oh, it is. It is. I've muted it. So, right, Jim. So, if you want to send out your message to everyone who's been watching, and obviously anyone who's listening back, because some people listen to this back as like a podcast sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. I just want, first of all, just want to say thanks for having me on. I've really enjoyed it. It's been good chatting about games and memories and stuff. And yeah, it'd be cool to go onto your toys live stream when you do one. But yeah, I just want to say, everyone, stay safe, look after yourselves, be kind. There's this situation we're in at the moment. It's brought out the best and the worst in people. But main thing is we look after each other, stay healthy, stay fit, and yeah, we'll all get through this. It might take a little while, but I'm sure there's good times ahead, and yeah, we'll get all these meetups coming again when everything's back to normal. So yeah, thanks guys, and take it easy.
Thank you. Right, I want to say thank you both for being on. You've been brilliant guests. I unmuted you just as you muted you. It's been brilliant having you both on, man. We've had a great chat. I've really enjoyed it. I'll just drop you both backstage now while I do my little outro thing. So again, guys, thanks for being on. Everyone. Right, guys, thank you. We finished that with more rings than Sonic the Hedgehog, but Scott and Jim, two great lads, wealth of knowledge between them, two great collectors, two great channels. What I've noticed is the last few nights I've been having to shout out people to go and sub other people's channels. So what I can ask you to do, go back through all my streams. I'm not saying to sub to everyone who's been on. I'm not saying to watch the whole streams, but please go back. In every video I've done is the link to everyone who's been on. So if there's someone you're interested in or you're looking for new channels, please just go through and look through and sub to each other. And that helps within knit the community as well. So thank you all for watching. Tomorrow's Wednesday, so it's my night off. I'll be back on Thursday with another stream. So all stay safe and take it easy, YouTube. Good night.